William Hill sponsors Seconds Out.
Radio Rahim here with EDDIE HEARN, taking a little stroll down memory lane before the camera started rolling, at least this camera. And, you know, it reminded me of when I was the young upstart Yank over there trying to, meet people and do these interviews. And I was sitting with Joshua, and, of course, Coogan was in the background, lapping it up, enjoying every moment. And we talked about, even then, when I might be sitting with him in America.
Yeah.
I talked with you over these several years about when is the American market going to be the place that you feel you need to plant your flag. All along the way, you guys were like, we don't need America. It's not necessary. This is the hub of boxing. America's over. And here we stand. What changed in the last 4 years between then and now?
Lots of things, really. I mean, money, to be quite honest with you. The changing landscape of American boxing in terms of the broadcasters. The lack of us being able to get that one super fight that we wanted next, which was Deontay Wilder. Needing to improve Joshua's profile in the States. So quite a few things. And trying to release, I guess, a little bit the UK market. You know, Wembley, Millennium Stadium, and just having one out here. So it's not really something we overthought, and there isn't a big science behind it. We just sort of went, should we do one in America? We went, yeah, and we've done it, you know?
Well, thanks
and
for that.
what we've got is a very proud moment for AJ, for me, selfishly, for our family business, where we get to do the dream job for the week, which is promote the World Unified Heavyweight Championship at Madison Square Garden. Quite frankly, it feels amazing. And it is a dream come true for us and for AJ, because when I sat in the office with him, when he just finished as an amateur, and we were talking about the debut, I gave him the spiel. You know, one day, mate, we'll be headlining Wembley, we'll do Madison Square Garden. And I was thinking, okay, we've got a long way to go, and now we're doing it. So I think this is one of those moments where you look back and say, it's a big tick off the list, you know? But there is a science to it in the way that he's not well known enough here as he needs to be in the current landscape of what's happening in boxing. So we're here to make a big impact on the American market. Madison Square Garden will be sold out on Saturday. It's a tremendous card. It'll be an amazing event. What we need now is one of his flagship performances against a very, very tough guy in Andy Ruiz, who makes me laugh because he does not give a fuck. He's loving this. And he's like, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to knock Joshua out. I'm going to let my hands go and I'm not going to stop. He doesn't even realise how big this moment is for him. He's fighting for the Unified World Heavyweight Championship at Madison Square Garden, and he just can't wait. And that's dangerous in itself. And everybody's talking about, oh, what's next? When's Wilder happening? It's like, stop. And even AJ's like that at the moment. You know, he's like, media are saying, is Wilder next? He's like, stop. Let me beat Ruiz. Because there's a lot of pressure on this fight, and there's pressure to win, and there's also pressure to deliver a statement, like Wilder did last week, which was impressive.
Speaking of that statement Wilder made last week, his camp and a lot of fans online that have commented about that fight feel like he raised not just his profile quite a bit since all this back and forth with Joshua began, but he's the more exciting of the fighters. That you've slagged him off many times for not having fanfare here in America, and he's gone a long way to increase that. Twofold question: do you agree with those statements? And secondly, what does Joshua need to do to capture the American market, if other than obviously success? Personality-wise, are you doing anything to contrast what Wilder and Fury are doing here to make Joshua a name?
Joshua, I mean, I think even you know him well enough to know he ain't going to play no games by publicity stunts and saying things that he don't believe in and trying to create hype. I don't mind if he does, by the way, but that's not him. He's the ultimate role model. He does exactly what he wants to do. He says exactly what he wants to say, and what you see is what you get. He ain't talking about killing people. He ain't talking about giving his money away to charity. There's no publicity stunts. You like him or you don't like him, no problem. You make your own, but what you see is real. In terms of Wilder's stock, I would say in the last year, it has gone up considerably. I think through the Fury performance, it probably dipped a little bit, but the Brazil performance was really good, really exciting. Is he more exciting than Joshua? I think they're both fucking brutal. He's more vulnerable than Joshua. He gets hit more, he gets wobbled more, and that is exciting, yeah. I don't want to start slagging him in terms of the ticket sales and the Showtime viewing figures, but you've got to do your own research. Like, he's not the draw that Joshua is, even in America. I mean, we'll have 19,000 in the Garden. 7,000 will be Brits, but there'll still be 12,000 Americans. That's double the amount of Americans who bought tickets for Deontay Wilder. And it baffles me, Rahim. I'm not slagging off Wilder. I think he's great. I think he's an amazing fighter. I think he's ultra exciting. I think he's box office, as they say. And he's the world heavyweight champion from America. But why? Is this just boxing in America? You tell me. How can you sell that few tickets for a fight that had such a big grudge as well? I mean, the build-up was good. Everything was good. Showtime done a great job. You know, the promotion. I mean, Wilder's an incredible self-promoter. Why is he not selling? Why are the numbers not doubling? Like, they should be double on Showtime. It baffles me because he's got it all. And this is not a dig at him. I'm telling you honestly, he's got it all. And the fight with Joshua is the biggest fight in world boxing. It's one of the biggest heavyweight fights of all time. And it is just a fucking absolute shootout. And I want it so bad, Rahim, because I would be shitting myself. Right? Because Wilder punches like a mule. Right? And I believe AJ beats him. But the question is, do you want to gamble? And people say, oh yeah, if Wilder loses, it'll be bad for PBC, and if Joshua loses, it'll be bad for Matchroom. Fucking spot on. But ain't that the fun of it? You know? Do you want to play? Do you want to gamble, boy? Let's gamble. You know, and that's what I love, because it's shit or bust. They can do it twice. They'll probably do it 4 times, right? But everything's on the line. Everything Joshua's built up from the day he turned pro. Everything Wilder's built up. It's all on the line. But isn't that what makes it so big and so exciting? So first things first, Andy Ruiz, he's got to go in there. He's got to put a performance on where everybody goes, wow. Because it is over to him now. Wilder's gone in there, bosh. Over to you, Joshua. And Joshua's got to go in and he's got to put in a great performance.
And you've said, oh, why not do a fight in America? Okay, fine. Sure, Madison Square Garden, that's fine. You make it sound like a one-off, but is it truly? If this fight performs not just in the Garden on the day, but on television with the viewership in the way that you hope, you know you have the British market in hand. They're not going anywhere.
No, but you can't take it for granted. And I think that, to be honest, like AJ calls the shots. He loves fighting in Britain. He will love the Garden, and he's loved the whole experience. Does it mean he's moving out here? No, it doesn't. In fact, he definitely wants to fight in the UK again, and probably ASAP. But it's a case-by-case scenario. Now, we always felt that Joshua had earned the right to have the first Wilder fight in Britain. And AJ felt that he owed it, in a way, to the British fans, after supporting him like he did, to bring this mega fight to Britain. He really felt strongly about that. Then we found out there was no chance of that happening. So now he says, I will fight Wilder in the States. No problem. Because we're just constantly giving and constantly saying, okay, we'll do this. Okay, we'll do this to try and get it over the line. Will he fight again in the States after this? Yeah. I mean, the Garden have never seen anything like it. You know, again, we're on Monday, and this week he's going to ramp up. And we've sold tickets to 50 different countries of people travelling to this fight. 50 countries, right? Countries I didn't even know they knew who Joshua was. They're flying into New York to watch this fight. So he's a global star, but he's got to look good, and he's got to win. That's the most important thing, the last bit, win. Just keep winning.
I talked to Fury just last week. He's doing the rounds, you know what I mean? Everyone's apparently loving the American market now. And something that occurred to me that we've had eras in boxing, but in heavyweight, with 3 top heavyweights at the same time, needing to mix and match it up, I feel like it's come again, right? The most recent being Tyson, Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield. Yeah. This feels like that kind of thing again. Lewis being the British fighter, he never got really capture the American audience like I feel like he could have.
If you would have fought Bo?
Yeah, well, yeah, if he fought Bo, if those fights would have happened
If you would have
sooner,
fought Tyson in his prime?
there you go. Is there a danger of losing this moment to these divisions?
Definitely a danger. I do believe they'll happen. And I will say that we're at the start, I won't panic just yet, is what I'm saying. But take away those three, the great thing about this era is the others. I mean, I put Dillian Whyte in that mix as well. You've got Luis Ortiz, you've got Alexander Usyk. You saw two great heavyweights on Saturday in Hrgovic and Hunter. They're putting themselves. You've got Joseph Parker. You've got Alexander Povetkin. So in those eras you're talking about, it was really the 3 or 4 where they could fight each other and you don't really know what happened, but they beat everybody else.
Right.
What's to say that Dillian Whyte can't beat Wilder, can't beat AJ? What's to say Usyk can't beat AJ? What's to say Luis Ortiz don't beat Wilder in the next fight? So this era is even better, I believe, because you've got the subplots that are competitive as well. But if we don't take this era by the balls and by the scruff of the neck and take this one chance we have to make boxing globally huge, then we're going to miss out. And we're not going to grow the sport like we should do and we are supposed to. So, fingers crossed, touch wood, after AJ beats Ruiz, he's got to put it on him. And so have we, after the fight, in the ring, and say, why? Why not now? The fans have got to put the pressure on. I dare you. I dare you to fight me. Because I know Wilder's game. Do you know what I mean? I know he wants it. But what are they doing? Are they not letting him take it? Are they talking him out of taking it? I don't know. So you've got to goad him into it, and you've got to say, I dare you to take the challenge. And AJ's got to be saying that. Not loudmouth me. I'm not getting in there and fighting. But AJ has got to say, fight me, or you're a coward. Because we can't say that about a fighter. We could never call a fighter a coward.
Right.
But a fighter to another fighter, if you don't fight me, you're a coward. And you've got to do it now. Because I know Wilder. He's got a big set of balls.
Right.
So Wilder should be sitting home. I know that it's itching him, Wilder, deep down going, I want to fight him. It's like, no, not yet, Deontay. Well, let's fight Ortiz and Konaki first. He's got to be the man to stand up and go, I really appreciate the advice. And the way to maybe flick those switches is to call on his manlyhood, if you like, and say, if you don't fight me, you're a something. I'm not saying that because I can't disrespect a fighter, because they're all, on many levels, much more of a man than I'll ever be, But that's what this has got to be about. This has got to be the moment where fighter to fighter, it's like, do it. And then one of them goes, fuck it, let's go. And then Deontay calls up Al or Shelley and goes, guys, I'm really sorry, make the fight. Make the fight now. Because that's what it's going to take. Like, Deontay gave an interview the other day, and it was so contradictory. He said, the Joshua fight's not happening next. I can tell you that. But in boxing, you never know. Maybe it will happen next. It's like, what? And what that means is, you've scheduled another fight, but deep down, you want it, don't you? You want it, And when everybody calls on you to take it, I just hope one day he does the right thing and turns out and goes, fuck it, let's go. It might happen. He might wake up on Monday or Sunday, he might watch that fight, and Joshua, like I said, puts it on him, and he makes that call. And he says, guys, make it. That's what the world is praying for. Did
you receive a call like that? Because on paper, nothing's changed. Mm-hmm. Joshua, all the numbers that you've quoted me over the years, all the things that weigh in his favor to get the kind of split that he wants, to have the fight in the UK, nothing's really changed.
It has changed in that.
But who decided it changed? Did Joshua call you, or did you decide?
We speak on things like that. Wilder's value now is much higher than it was a year ago. He's done a brilliant job. Although he should have lost against Fury, in my opinion, he still has more value now than he did last year. So what we're offering now is much better deal than what he was offered then. And maybe he's gambling that in a year's time he'll be offered 50 or whatever, 50-50 or who knows. But if you can't sit down and discuss it, what chance have you got? they've never asked us for anything. You know, we've never made them an offer and they've come back and said, well, actually, we can't accept that, but if you give us X, we'll take it. Because there is no number to take it. You know, even Wilder came out recently and said, even if they offered me 50-50, I wouldn't take it. Like, why? What's the point of even having a conversation? But when you say nothing's changed, things have changed. Joshua wants it more now than he first did. He always wanted the fight. Now, he don't want any other fight.
How did you... I just wanted to have that conversation with you.
It's the chat. It's the chat. It's the build-up. It's, again, testing that manlyhood, that manliness. You know, you're putting it on you to say, do you want it? And that's AJ's going, I want it. So you'll see on Saturday, if he beats Ruiz, he'll say, I want it, and I want it now. Fight me. I dare you. That's what you've got to do. And it's not really AJ's style, but I think you might see that side of him because he really wants to fight Deontay Wilder, and he really wants to knock him out. And it will be the greatest show of all time.
Nothing is growing in boxing as fast as your stable. It appears like you're really gobbling up guys and you're putting on shows after shows after shows. There's no way I can let you walk away without discussing what had to have been a hand-wringing moment when you realized that Usyk wasn't going to be able to perform and you had decided to elevate Devin Haney, not knowing exactly what would happen. Yeah. The performance, I think, around the table, no one is denying it was incredible. What does that mean for Devin Haney's future? And what did you learn about him that night?
Well, I've heard about Devin Haney for a long time, and I've watched him for a long time. But sometimes there's a load of hype, and sometimes... So I look at him as a 20-year-old and say, you're 20, right? You've had 21 fights, which is incredible, and you're top 5 in the world with every governing body. Are you ready? Like, and the dad, Bill, says to me, get us Teofimo Lopez, get us Lomachenko, get us Campbell, fight them all now. I'm like, Bill, are you sure? Like, so I wanted to see him up close. And I wanted to see him against a fighter who wasn't a world champion, but had been the distance with Pedraza in a good fight, like was tough, was coming to win, and see where he's at. What I saw was one of the best young talents I've ever seen in the sport of boxing. And people say his power's not come through yet. So when you do that and produce the knockout of the year at the same time, they're the special fighters that produce under that radar. And pressure was on us because Usyk pulled out. I was going to bin the show. And I said, you know what? Maybe it's Haney's time. Step up, headline, and the response has been unbelievable. I mean, like, I can't tell you, Rahim, like, people in the arena, but people watching, I mean, obviously the clip's gone viral, like the knockout, but he's got it all. And it's so exciting. And the most exciting thing, away from how good this kid is that he's put his trust in us. You know? He's left Showtime and the graspers of PBC to put his trust in Matchroom. And that means so much to me. I will not let him down. And I will push him I will give him every opportunity to be the greatest he can be. And I'm so excited about this partnership. Next is Abdullayev in a final eliminator for the winner of Lomachenko Campbell. And that should be headlining the show now because this kid's a star, you know? And I'm very excited.
I mean, arguably, Lomachenko is the greatest threat to anybody in that division, and it's not that arguable. So a guy who's 20, even with what we saw, is it possible that that's still too soon?
It's probably always too soon to fight Lomachenko. But I'll tell you something, Devin Haney won't be at lightweight too long. Probably got another 3 fights at lightweight, and he wants to win a world title before he moves up. I can only do... They're my bosses. They tell me they want Lomachenko, I'll get him Lomachenko. But he's got to beat Abdullayev first. But this kid is very special. Ring IQ like I've never seen from someone so young. You know, and a joy to work with.
In the past year, another guy that you couldn't say enough good things about and probably wasn't expected to be the star he's become is Callum Smith. I mean, the discussion about him now is far beyond what we were talking a year ago. And he's saying Canelo.
Yeah.
At 68, Canelo's fought there. He's got something to put on the line. How likely do you think it is he can get that fight? Are you angling for that fight?
I mean, Callum Smith is a name that's come up in several DAZN meetings. They come up in several DAZN Golden Boy Matchroom meetings about Canelo. He was the first person they said in the press conference after the Jacobs fight. So I think it's only a matter of time before Canelo moves to 68. And when he does, he's going to want to fight the best in the world. The best 168-pounder in the world is Callum Smith, unquestionably. And he's got a good fight against Hassan and Dam this week, and we want to keep him active now. He's had the birth of his daughter. He's had some time off. And that's the aim. The Canelo fight at 168. It's a massive fight for Callum Smith. You've seen Callum, you know him. He's a huge 168-pounder. Again, his time's running out at 168. He'll be moving to 175 at some point. So, you know, now's the time to make the big fights like that. Fingers crossed he gets through against Hassan and Dam. But we'd love to do that fight, and we'd love to do it at Anfield. You know, I'm not sure Canelo knows where Anfield is, but, you know, Callum Smith against Canelo at Anfield will be a moment that Liverpool will never, ever forget. If we have to go Wembley, we go Wembley. Joe Gallagher's told me it must be Anfield. So we'll see. But, you know, again, he's massively on Canelo's radar, and obviously being all in the same house makes it very likely for that fight to happen.
And now, talking about the same house, a new roommate you've got is Triple G, who will be performing just a week after Joshua, and you have a big stake in the middleweight division as well. So I'm imagining contrasting getting a shot for your middleweight fighters against Canelo, or trying to push Canelo up to 68 to defend the title he just won. Where do you think is the greatest challenge for him?
I think the Callum Smith fight. You've got two fights. Now, when I left the arena with Danny Jacobs, Canelo was walking past me, and I went to him, "Well done," and he went, "Thank you," and he went, "Eddie." Turned around, he went, "Who's next?" Like as if to say, just beat Fielding, just beat Jacobs. So the two that we have for him is Demetrius Andrade for the undisputed middleweight world title, and Callum Smith for the WBA Ring Magazine super middleweight world titles. Either or. I've put it out there now. I think Demetrius Andrade beats every middleweight on the planet. Right? I believe he beats Canelo, and I believe he beats Triple G. So if they don't want that one, you've got Callum Smith at 168, and Canelo against Callum Smith is an unbelievable fight. You know, you've got the size of Callum Smith, the body punching, the skill, and you've got just the genius of Canelo Alvarez, who is one of the, or probably the pound for pound great fighter. So in answer to Canelo's question, we've got a couple more for you, and one day we'll get you.
I asked that question to you as a promoter because it seems like Demetrius Andrade deserves the shot. He got himself a belt. It's going to be a unification, an undisputed fight. How do you as a promoter angle that fight in against what the money for Triple G rubber match could bring?
I think the rubber match will come anyway in September. I do. You know, if Triple G wins in a couple of weeks, I can see Canelo against Triple G. But if
are you saying Andrade's not an option for September?
No, if he doesn't fight, Triple G he is. But I think the focus of DAZN particularly is to make that third fight. Fair. After that, the winner can move up to fight Callum Smith, can fight the undisputed fight against Demetrius. I said to Demetrius, all you got to do is just keep winning, mate, because no one can be undisputed without you. June 29th, he's got a great fight against Sulecki. First time he's boxed in Providence in his career. It's crazy. So that's going to be a great night. And then Canelo's going to do what Canelo wants to do. He's going to call the shots, like AJ. And no one's going to sell him a fight. He's just going to say, I want Smith. I want Andrade. So we have to really sit and wait and obviously push DAZN to make those fights with the fighters that are in-house.
If not September Canelo, which it sounds like realistically you're saying probably won't happen, does Jacobs, Andrade make sense?
I think no, Danny's going to move to 168. I mean, Jacobs, Callum Smith makes sense, but Danny needs to move to 168 pounds now, and I think he'll be a different fighter.
Has that decision been made?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, he talked about it after the Canelo fight, and it's not an excuse in a Canelo fight, but it's been so hard for him in the last few fights to make weight, and this fight even harder. So it's time for him to go at 68, and I think he'll be a force.
Not unlike many Matchroom cards, to your credit, this card is stacked, man.
Really good.
Really
stacked.
Why?
Because this is such a big moment for us. I wanted to make sure it was one we remember, and I wanted to give our great fighters the chance to be part of this, because I know what it means to a fighter to get a chance at Madison Square Garden. I mean, you've got Tommy Coyle down there fighting Chris Algieri. Like, he can't believe his luck. But fighters like Josh Kelly, who's in a really tough fight against Ray Robinson. Right. Katie Taylor getting a chance to go undisputed.
Well, that's where I was going to go,
soon. Callum Smith defending his world title. You know, even the kids, Amo Williams, Diego Pacheco. It's such an amazing opportunity for these people. And there's a lot of Brits travelling. There'll be 8,000 Brits in there. I wanted to give them a full night of entertainment, so I can't wait. It's a massive card.
We've spoken in the last month about Clarissa Shields, her undisputed fight. Turned out to be tremendously entertaining. I thought she performed in a way that people hadn't expected to see her box. Katie Taylor is the other, I would say, big name that's been pushed well. To your credit, now she's at Madison Square Garden on this card, looking to be undisputed herself against a fighter who's had 44 fights.
Yeah.
Who
Lost for 9 years.
It's a tremendous challenge. Where do you think that places her? This fight right now at 13.
I love Clarissa, but for me, Katie Taylor is the greatest female fighter of all time. But Clarissa Shields is also amazing. But Katie's my girl, and I think she's just amazing as an individual, as an athlete, as a fighter. And this is it, all the marbles, undisputed. You know, the 4 world title belts and the Ring Magazine belt on the line. This is everything to her. This is a moment of her career and life, if you like. So it's going to be a great fight. Persoon's awkward experience, punches very hard. But Katie Taylor, when have you ever seen her in a bad fight? It don't exist. And what a moment to fight for the undisputed championship at the Garden.
Where does she get
Hurry up, Rahim.
a
See these
disputed?
burgers going around.
If she's successful on Saturday night, which is a hurdle, can we see her in main event television going forward?
We've got a deal. You know, Amanda Serrano, Lou DiBella signed a contract to fight Katie Taylor. Now they want to back out of that contract. So we'll see what happens with that. That's a big fight. But first things first, let her win the undisputed, and we'll go from there.
All right, before we go get some burgers, man. Lastly, we're midway through this year of 19. Before the year is out, what fight, not do you just want to make, but you feel like is most likely you can make that could be the biggest fight for the second half of 2019?
I mean, the obvious one is Wilder Joshua. I'd like to see Fury against Dillian White. I think that's a great fight.
Is that a strong possibility?
I think so. I mean, there's other fights. You know, I'd like to see Jesse Vargas fight Jamie Munguia. I'd like to see Daniel Roman fight Ray Vargas. I would like to see Tevin Farmer fight Tank, or if not, Bachel. I would like to see Demetrius get his shot at the undisputed, or I would like to see Callum Smith get that shot, or Callum Smith unify. I would like to see the rematch of Rung Visai against Estrada. I would like to see Bivol fight Marcus Brown. I really like that fight. I would like to see Mikey Garcia fight Maurice Hooker. I'd like to see Maurice Hooker against Jose Ramirez. I mean, I could talk to you all day about it.
You want to go get burgers, now we got 8 fights to cover. Yeah. But the first one that you mentioned, I think, has the most punch, no pun intended, to it.
Biggest fight, and maybe the biggest heavyweight fight ever, the time it happens.
Are you able to work with Arum, ESPN, all these?
Anyone.
Give me a percentage likelihood that you get Tyson Fury in the ring against anybody on Matchroom.
Fury against White has been ordered by the WBC. Tyson's come out and accepted that fight. So the WBC are going to call that fight after Dillian White's fight. That fight's on.
All right.
So it's up to Tyson. He said he wants it. I believe him. Let's make it.
Let's make it. That's got to be your Eddie Hearn moniker now.
Burger.
Let's make it. Radio Rahim with Eddie Hearn, getting burgers in New York, getting ready for Joshua Ruiz at Madison Square Garden June 1st. Can't wait for that card.
Cheers,
Thank you, sir.
Cheers,
Radio Rahim with Eddie Hearn.
William Hill sponsors Seconds Out.